I am literally so sick of Bernie Sanders' tax the rich BS. Now, why is Bernie even back in the news right now with this? Well, everybody's talking about Biden's multi-trillion spending proposals and, more importantly, how to pay for them all. And Bernie's out there saying the way to do it is to tax the rich and the big business CEOs. And in his telling, Republicans just want to punish poor people or something? Well, listen to Bernie in his own words.
Apparently, McConnell wants those folks, working people, to pay more in taxes. I want large corporations, some of them haven't paid a nickel in federal income tax last year, and the wealthiest people in this country to start paying their fair share of taxes. So that is a fundamental divide. The president is right, and we have got to move in the direction of progressive taxation.
Now, here's why this is just so frustrating to me. Bernie literally is the rich. We're talking about 1%. Well, Senator Sanders is the 1%. He has 3 houses. Yes, 3. And he actually is a multi-millionaire now, thanks to a book deal and all the money he's made off his career as a supposed socialist or something. What's even more ironic is that when Bernie first came to the scene, he always used to rant about millionaires and billionaires. But now in all his latest speeches and campaign stops, he only ever talks about billionaires. What's changed, you might ask? Well, the only thing that's really changed is his own personal finances. Look, I know that's low-hanging fruit, and it doesn't actually change the debate over his ideas, but it's part of why it's just so hypocritical. But let's break down the substance of this all. Bernie and folks like him, they always talk about fair share. If I had $1 for every time they used that phrase, I'd be almost as rich as Bernie himself. But what does fair share even mean? It's a meaningless term. It's vague to the point of nothingness, because that's exactly the point. It doesn't matter what the actual rate is, they can always say it's not the fair share. And when you actually look at the facts, the rich in America do pay their fair share, and then some. Even the liberal Washington Post admitted that the US has a very progressive federal tax system. According to the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation, half of taxpayers pay 97% of all federal income taxes. And when you look at that 1% that Bernie loves to revile so much, well, that 1% pays 37.3% of all federal income taxes. If that's not their fair share, I don't know what is. Now, why does Bernie always play fast and loose with the facts on taxes? Why are they always using vague terms? Well, because the truth is, having free everything, or democratic socialism, or whatever Bernie calls it, really means that everybody, not just the rich, is going to pay obscenely high amounts of taxes. Just look at the Scandinavian countries that Bernie loves to point to. In places like Denmark, they have a 60.4% top tax rate. And in Norway, it's 39%. In Sweden, it's almost 57%. But these aren't just the top tax rates that only the rich pay. In fact, that's the biggest difference between the US and Scandinavia. In Scandinavia, income taxes raise a lot of revenue because they're actually rather flat. In other words, they tax most people at these high rates, not just the rich. The top marginal tax rate of 60% in Denmark applies to all income over 1.2 times the average. From the American perspective, this means that all income over $60,000 would be taxed at 60%. Bernie's not getting 60% of my paycheck, and that is by no means a fair share. One of the other parts of this debate that's always so frustrating is that Bernie's whole thing is raising taxes on big business and CEOs, and what that really means is raising the corporate tax rate. But it's just basic economics that who you formally place the tax upon isn't necessarily who actually pays the costs. And when it comes to corporate taxes, the costs are mostly borne by workers, not CEOs. This is basically something economists agree on, and it's what all the research shows. According to the Tax Foundation, studies appear to show that labor bears between 50% and 100% of the burden of the corporate income tax, with 70% or higher the most likely outcome. So when Bernie talks about raising taxes on corporations, he really means raising taxes on you and me. He's just afraid to tell you that. What makes all of this more maddening than anything is that Bernie talks about taxing the rich and helping the working class, but then all of it is for his number one biggest issue, student debt cancellation.
This is an incredible burden on millions and millions of young people who did nothing wrong except try to get the education they need. We are going to cancel all student debt in this country.
Now, there's no such thing as cancellation. What it means is taxpayers like you and me pay down other people's loans. And student debt cancellation is a highly regressive policy. It's basically a taxpayer bailout for rich and affluent educated people. Remember, it seems like everybody goes to college these days, but the truth is that only 1 in 3 Americans age 25 and over actually has a bachelor's degree. These people earn a lot more money than other people, and that's why they go to college in the first place. But what this means is that when you take the money from everybody, including working class and poor taxpayers, and you use it to pay the loans of just an educated subset of society, you're really transferring money into the pockets of the affluent. You don't have to take my word for it. A University of Chicago study found that 6 times more benefit goes to the top 20% from student debt cancellation than the bottom 20%. Even the liberal-leaning Urban Institute found that most student debt is held by the upper income quartiles. And that, not the working class, is who would be benefiting from Bernie's plan. I know Bernie's whole tax the rich shtick might make him very popular with young progressives, but it's just not based on any facts. And when you break it all down, all you're left with is hypocrisy. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and go ahead and leave a like if you think that Bernie is a hypocrite when it comes to taxing the rich. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, turn on the bell notifications so you can see next time